What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into DaBearsDen, an NFL podcast where the Chicago Bears first focus. I'm your host, Alex, here today donning my Super Bowl 55 Tom Brady jersey in celebration of the Chiefs failing to three-peats, the Chiefs getting just completely destroyed in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 59. And I'm here to talk about it. I want to talk about a few things. Some things that I've been feeling for a bit, but didn't want to come out on here and say, um, because they wouldn't necessarily look so great if the Chiefs were to have three-peated. But wanted to break down the Super Bowl, my thoughts on kind of the GOAT debate, and we'll go from there. And I'll start with the GOAT debate first because I think that in my eyes, this is all coming from my point of view. I understand why the argument exists. I understand why people um, believe that there's a world where Mahomes is already the greatest of all time. To me, Mahomes had to win last night to even have a chance of surviving that argument, right? The thing about the Michael LeBron argument is that LeBron did it on three teams, right? He won in Cleveland, he won in Miami, and he's won in LA. Michael only won with the Bulls, of course. Michael obviously had a much better win percentage in the finals, won every single finals, never went to a game seven, so on and so forth. And LeBron has lost a lot of finals, but LeBron did it with three different teams, and that's something that LeBron has over Michael Jordan. This is something that Mahomes could have had over Brady. Brady never three-peated. Brady went to three Super Bowls, but the Eagles beat him the second one. Super Bowl 52, the Eagles beat him. And so they won Super Bowl 51 against Atlanta, and they won Super Bowl 53 against the Rams. But they lost the one in the middle to Philly. So Philly has stopped two three-peats within the last decade. So Mahomes would have had that over him. And had Mahomes gone on to win seven Super Bowls, or maybe even six Super Bowls, having the I won three straight, something no other team, no other quarterback has ever done, could have potentially propelled him to the top. But that is done, and that, assuming something crazy doesn't happen in Mahomes' career, that won't happen, right? So now let's say Mahomes wins seven, same as Brady. Brady's still better in my eyes. And I go back to the Michael Jordan, LeBron James argument. This isn't two separate eras where you know, we 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 discuss, oh, Michael would destroy LeBron nowadays, or oh, LeBron would, destroy Michael back in the 90s. Just for sake of argument, I don't actually believe that, but just for sake of argument, I'm a Michael Jordan guy. Um, we don't know for sure, right? Because we didn't get to see them play. They played in two different eras. We saw Mahomes play Brady twice in the playoffs, and Brady beat him in the AFC Championship game, and Brady destroyed him in the Super Bowl. In this Super Bowl. So even if they were to, you know, same Super Bowls, let's say Mahomes wins, more MVPs or whatever. In my eyes, Tom Brady is still the greatest of all time and will be. And I think with the Chiefs losing last night, that solidifies that. Because Brady beat him twice. With that being said, it's interesting because Brady's point differential in the Super Bowls, in his losses, in three Super Bowl losses, his point differential is minus 15. In two Super Bowl losses for Mahomes, the point differential is minus 40. And it's interesting because it seems like over the past couple years, Mahomes, we've been hearing in the media, Mahomes is having an off year. Oh, he's not the same quarterback that we remember. It seems as if Patrick Mahomes perhaps isn't as legendary as he was originally on track to be. And that's not me taking a shot. Obviously, he's one of the best quarterbacks that I've seen in my lifetime. And I'm not trying to tear him down. The guy just is coming off of two Super Bowls. But for him to be in, the greatest of all time conversation so early to me was always a little bit silly. because we've seen it twice now, melting down in the Super Bowl. I mean, last night was arguably the worst game of his career. 2 interceptions, one was returned for a touchdown, a fumble. It seemed like he was struggling to see the field. I mean, here's a statistic. The Eagles had a pressure rate of 52% last night. You know how many times they blitzed? 0. They didn't blitz a single time last night. And Mahomes was pressured on 52% of his plays. So we'll see this week if the media wants to treat him like they treated Caleb Williams and say that it's all his fault when his offensive line of 5 men couldn't block 4 men. Or are they going to make excuses and say, oh, well, he can only do so much behind that offensive line. We'll see if they treat these quarterbacks differently, right? But he had the worst game of his career last night in the Super Bowl. And one of the other worst games of his career was also in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. And that's interesting because in his losses in Super Bowls, he's getting blown out. But in the wins in Super Bowls, all 3 of his wins, they've only won by 3 points. So each time that he's met a really good team in the playoffs, he's gone down. Isn't that interesting? I mean, think about when Cincinnati beat them, right? Cincinnati was the better team. They beat them, right? And then you look at this year and it's like, Kansas City was, they're a significantly better roster than Buffalo, right? You look at how many Hall of Famers Kansas City has. We know that Mahomes will make it in. We know that Chris Jones will be a Hall of Famer. We know that Travis Kelce will be a Hall of Famer. Will DeAndre Hopkins be a Hall of Famer? Maybe. There's an argument. So we'll count 4 for now for sake of argument. But if you want to say 3 Hall of Famers, fine. Versus the Bills, who, is Josh Allen in the Hall of Fame? Probably not yet. Maybe the one MVP would push him over, but I would say he's probably not right now. But for sake of argument, since we counted DeAndre Hopkins, we'll count Josh Allen. 1, and who else do they have? Von Miller. That's it. So 4 Hall of Famers to 2. I mean, Chiefs roster is significantly better than the Bills, and yet the Chiefs had to fight till the end. Like Josh Allen single-handedly carrying his team and coming this close to going to the Super Bowl. It's like Mahomes to me has farmed off of one of, if not the best coach in the history of the NFL. Hall of Fame players on his team. And, early in his career, an easy division and an easy AFC, right? I mean, when he entered the league and they were lighting it up, Denver was terrible, right? I think that was like the Vic Fangio era. And while Fangio is a fantastic coach, just won a Super Bowl last night, the Broncos that roster was terrible. The Chargers were doing nothing. That was like the tail end of Phillip Rivers' career. And then the Raiders were, I think, with Gruden and Derek Carr. So they were like kind of okay in that era, but nothing crazy. And then they would meet Brady in the playoffs, and Brady would eliminate them. And then it was like once Brady left, then Mahomes was able to get in, right, and do his thing. But it's just like this kid has been in the GOAT conversation for years now, and I don't see it. I don't see it. He started off so great. That 2018 year where they were, it was like a light show, right? Fantastic year, right? Put up insane numbers. I think he had 55 touchdowns that year, 52 touchdowns. But since then, his production has gone down and down, and they've been winning. And yes, they've won 2 Super Bowls, and I would do anything for the Bears to win 2 Super Bowls. But he was outplayed in the Super Bowl against Tampa by Jalen Hurts, right? Jalen Hurts had better numbers. Just like Tom Brady outplayed Nick Foles in whatever Super Bowl 52, right? Brady had like 5 touchdowns, 500 yards. They just lost. right? Because Philly had 41 points. Um, Jalen Hurts outplayed Mahomes 2 years ago, lost. Defense gave up 38 points. Brock Purdy left the field last year with a win. Credit to Mahomes. Mahomes led them down the field. They won the game. But Brock Purdy played very well last year. And then Jalen Hurts completely outperformed him last night. And so it's just like when the path is easy for the Chiefs, it's easy, right? Like going through Lamar last year in the AFC Championship game to, against a quarterback who is known for melting down in the playoffs, like that doesn't impress me, right? That doesn't impress me at all. Um, and so I just feel like the brakes need to be pumped a little bit on Mahomes because his production has gone down. And I mean, he had 3 touchdowns yesterday. 2 of those were in garbage time. So it was really like a 130-yard game, 1 touchdown, 3 turnovers for Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That's crazy. Brady never did that, right? And so it's just pump the brakes. The argument has always been silly to me, but I don't want to just focus on that. I want to talk about Philly. I predicted them to win it all, right? If you missed my prediction video the other day, I picked Philly to win the game. And I said that I think Philly is significantly better on each line. And they're going to play bully ball up front on both sides. And that's exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. And Mahomes was sacked. Let's see. Mahomes was sacked 6 times. He was sacked 6 times. And he couldn't do anything. And that's credit to Vic Fangio. Us Bears fans know that looked like a prime Vic Fangio defense last night. Crazy pressure, guys picking off the ball, forcing fumbles. That looked like the 2018 Bears to me last night. Quarterback is under duress, can't play, can't read the field. I mean, the one pick where Mahomes was rolling out, I think it was the first pick to Cooper DeJean, where he was rolling out to his right and he thought he had a completion, and Cooper DeJean just comes out of nowhere and takes it. Like Mahomes didn't even see him. That reminded me of the 2018 Bears, and like Kyle Fuller just coming out of nowhere, right? And that quarterback wouldn't see him, and it's picked. And people, I think I get so upset about how certain quarterbacks are treated in the media versus others because we've seen what Jalen Hurts can do. We saw him have that insane Super Bowl performance 2 years ago, and he just fell a little bit short, right? And he's been in the playoffs multiple times, and he's really turned Philly into a very good team every single year. And yet the media still rips him. And what he had done so far wasn't enough. And I'm just really hoping that they treat him differently after today or after last night, because he did that. He stopped a three-peat. We saw it on the first drive. It got called back because of that, phantom offensive pass interference penalty on A.J. Brown, but we saw it on the first drive. 4th and 2, the entire world is thinking they're going to line up in tush push. They line up in shotgun, and he throws a sideline go ball to A.J. Brown, hits him right in stride. And then, me as a fan knows instantly at that moment, okay, he's locked in, he's feeling it. That was a beautiful throw. And then obviously he hit the deep shot to Devontae Smith later down in the game. It was a great performance. It was an insane performance. And, I was talking with my dad during the game, watching back the 85 Bears Super Bowl against New England. This game reminded me of that. Now, obviously, Philly wasn't blitzing like the Bears would do with that 46 defense, but Kansas City's game plan clearly was to worry about Saquon. They put so much focus into stopping Saquon Barkley. We're not going to let Saquon Barkley take over the game. We're not going to let him control the game. And while they neutralized him for the most part, right? Saquon had 57 rushing yards on 25 attempts, right? That's a 2.3 average. But they were so focused on doing that Jalen Hurts was getting to dice them up and carve them up. and the line was protecting him and giving him time. And let's be honest, for as much talk as the Chiefs secondary gets, right? They couldn't play yesterday with the receivers, with Dallas Goedert. They could not cover. And that's how it works. And that's what teams will be doing when they look at the draft and free agency this year to build up their offensive line. Because when you can protect your quarterback for that long, the corners can't play anymore. The corners can't play. They can't cover for that long. I remember talking about it. I remember Bears players talking about it in 2018, right? With Khalil Mack, right? They're getting pressure after the quarterback so much that we get to play more aggressive. We get to jump routes more because we can, right? Because we don't have to worry about the deep shot. We don't have to get worried about getting burnt over the top because we know that the pressure is going to get there quick enough. And so we see that last night, right? First pick, Mahomes is rolling out, forced to roll out because of the pressure. Cooper DeJean gets to jump that ball. Second one, pressure is Mahomes' left tackle is getting walked back into him as he's throwing it, and he's getting hit as he's throwing it, reducing his throwing power. It's getting picked. And then the pressure on the third fumble. Last night was one of the most dominant performances of all time. And it reminded me of the 85 Bears because it seemed like the Patriots in that Super Bowl were so focused on stopping Walter Payton that other guys on the offense got to run free and got to play. And, it sucks that Walter didn't get a touchdown in this Super Bowl, but, they won 46-10, right? And I'm sure he was happy with that. But last night was one of the most dominant Super Bowl performances I've seen. It reminded me of the Bears, like I said. It reminded me of the Legion of Boom Super Bowl over Denver, where it's just like you have this great quarterback on the opposing team that just can't play the game. He just can't. It doesn't matter. He can't do anything. And, I think, I'm not putting sole blame on Mahomes, right? I think the defense got completely carved up. Thought their game plan was really rough. And I thought that obviously the line wasn't great. I thought that the receivers weren't helping him. Kelsey had, I think, 2 drops. DeAndre Hopkins obviously had the huge drop where he was wide open. So the team just really looked dysfunctional. But I think when you have that much pressure about a three-peat and you're in the Super Bowl and you're losing, you go out to a quick loss. After you've been dominant for 2 years, right? And you go into this game and all of a sudden you're getting your teeth kicked in, that does something mentally because it's like they haven't had to deal with that for 2 years. Think about how good they've been in the regular season, right? For what it's worth, how dominant they've been. This year was a lot more, winning right at the end of the game. But, a lot of games where they're winning, right? They lost 2 games this regular season, right? And one was with all their backups. They get to a position where, oh, okay, like they're causing us problems and we're losing. The Chiefs looked scared last night. And it felt to me, oddly enough, we've seen Andy Reid adapt very well. It seems like the Chiefs, in both Andy Reid and Spagnuolo, were refusing to get off the game plan last night. It wasn't working. They kept running the same defensive schemes, and Jalen was carving it up because they couldn't get pressure. Chris Jones was a non-factor. And then on offense, they weren't getting the ball out quick. You would think they would adapt to a lot of, maybe some screens or some quick slants or, out routes or something quick to get the ball out because they couldn't protect Mahomes, but they weren't doing that. And so it was a very strange game from the Chiefs. And, I'd be sick if I was a Chiefs fan because you've seen the team come back from deficits before. You've seen them adapt in tough situations, and it just felt like they weren't doing that last night. But I think when you play a team that is this dominant as of late, like Philly, it does something to you mentally. I mean, Philly put up, 95 points over the last 2 games against Washington and Kansas City. I mean, it was clear and obvious from week 7, week 8 that they were maybe the best team in the league, right? It was between like them, Detroit, Buffalo, and Kansas City. And, a lot of us saw that Kansas City was kind of in, they're winning the games, but they're not like winning the games, right? It was a lot of the other team just losing the game. I'm very happy that the Chiefs went down yesterday. I'm a very happy guy right now because I didn't want to deal with the three-peat stuff for the rest of my life. I didn't want to hear that. And Travis Kelce is a player that I've lost respect for because of the way, he trash talks on the field, and the way he acts with the officials, and there's that clip of him throwing Justin Tucker stuff pregame. It's like the lack of respect towards opponents, and the way he acts after they win stuff is like very immature and very childish. And so I'm very glad that he got smoked yesterday. I'm very glad that he didn't have an impact on the game yesterday. And it sucks that football's over. It's a long video. I've been talking for 20 minutes, but it sucks that football's done for the year. But, um, it was a great season. It was a great season, and it was a great ending. And, if you're an Eagles fan, congratulations. Enjoy the Super Bowl. You guys have been great for the last decade. And, we are on to the next year. Bears are 0-0. Free agency's coming up in just a couple weeks. We have the draft in, just about 2 months. And before we know it, we'll be next season. We'll be going Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, maybe Micah Parsons. Who knows, right? We'll see. But I plan on putting out a video either tomorrow or Wednesday discussing my plans for the channel for the off season, and then we'll go from there. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm losing my voice. I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening as always. Your support means the world to me. It's been a great first season on the channel. Made a lot of new fans, and I appreciate all of you guys. And I will see you in the next video. Bear down. Have a good off season.